All right, y'all. Bearder Bros Golf Show. Back at it again. I am Rod,
And I'm Marcus.
and it is the week of the 2024 PGA Championship. Lots to talk about. Lots to talk about leading up to the PGA Championship. Within the week, kind of an ongoing topic with Xander Schauffele. Do we really
hmm
care that he won? Those videos that we've had about Xander, which we posted one earlier this year, didn't get much love. Posted one earlier this morning, kind of leading into the tournament with him in the lead again. Again, still slow trickles. We'll see what it looks like now that he's actually won. But let's hit some other stuff. I swear to God, bro. Um, let's talk about some lighter stuff just before we get into it. Nelly Corda won 6 out of 7 starts this year. Let's talk about some lighter stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, Rod, tripping, bro. So, what do you think, man? Nelly on a tear. This season is just ridiculous.
Yeah, the way she started the round though, with a couple of bogeys and stuff, she had to fight back. So I'm glad she did. She said it was a grind out there. And Hannah Green almost came and got her third one of the year. So wasn't as easy as these other ones have been, or some of them have
Yeah.
been. But she took care of business and still shot an under par round and got back to her winning ways. Now officially tied second all time in LPGA history for most wins in a season before June 1. That's a crazy stat to me. So,
we have
she's going to
four.
be in a
We
lot of
have
record
four
books.
majors to go. We have 4 majors to go for them. That
We're
is
talking,
crazy
yeah,
good.
we're talking prodigious numbers for her possibly. So, um,
Yeah, yeah.
could be
Fingers
like
crossed
we
she
said,
stays
yeah,
healthy.
like we said about Lily Avu, this could be scary hours for the rest of the tour. So we'll see. We will see. I mean, they're
Yeah,
taking a week break, and then they have the ladies' women's open, so they're getting right into their major season as well.
yeah, I love it. I think I think the upside for Nelly is clearly much higher than Lilia Vu. Lily is struggling with injuries this year, so we weren't able to see her have a follow up to her spectacular 2023 season. Um,
True.
you already kind of mentioned it, and we've talked about her earlier in the year. Hannah Green, man, I think she is on the cusp of a breakout. Clearly the
hmm
talent is there, and I mean, hanging around the top of leaderboards heavily this year, got a win earlier this year. I think we will be talking a lot about Hannah Green as hopefully a foil and a competitor to Nelly Corda in the future. It's great to see the
Yeah.
women's game doing its thing. Earlier in the week, there was some sickness flowing through the tournament as well as some injuries. Rose Zhang had to pull out of the tournament due to some abdominal or intestinal issues that were going on. So maybe a
Yeah.
little bit of a stomach bug flowing through the locker room, but unfortunate that she did not get to defend her championship, which was her maiden win last year. That sucks, but the ladies are still doing their thing here in 2024. It's just awesome overall just to see women's sport um, really catching hold and showing us what
For
they have
sure.
from the WNBA and some other avenues. So just really all good, especially on the golf side of things.
Amen.
So let's jump into kind of pre-tournament. Saw a little story on Reddit, just a spectator that saw John Rahm and just kind of watched him interact with other PGA Tour players, and John was getting the old cold shoulder, and then
A
when he
little
did
cold
get some
shoulder.
yeah, when he did get some interaction, apparently from Collin Morikawa, he called his outfit cute, um, and called him Johnny. So the spectator said that John Rahm did not look pleased in the least bit, did not smile, did not find the humor in it. So, I guess this shows that there's consequences to our actions. What do you think about this story that came out of the PGA Tour, PGA Championship?
I thought the bullying would have came sooner. I mean, especially since it's all matching and everything like that. You guys look well put together. You look like you guys all go to the same school. Like, I mean, it could have went a lot of different ways for the guys, especially since him and Tyrrell were both in the event this week. So, um,
Rocking the Thundercats logo, by the way. I'm waiting on the lawsuit.
so yeah, I mean, to me, I think it's much deserved. I felt like they were really just trying to gloss it over, and the band-aid's off now. So, he's a little bit hurt about his boo-boo and stuff like that, but he can just go cry in his piles of money now, and him and his family. So I think he will be okay ultimately. He did end up missing the cut. So
Yeah, we'll get into those. Yeah. We'll get into the live results and the surprising miscuts that happened this week. So I think let's just talk about live results. I think that's, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the others on the PGA Tour side. So as you just
yeah.
mentioned, John Rahm missing the cut. Go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then another one that was surprising, and I think we're gonna have to kind of reevaluate our previous viewpoints. Adrian Morant also missed the cut.
Hmm.
Couple of other no namers, really, David Puig and Andy Ogletree. Who really cares? Not super surprised. A lot of special exemptions were given to the live guys this week. Phil Mickelson also missing the cut at +4.
Yeah,
So overall, honestly, let's go, you know, backtrack from there. Pretty poor showing. Martin Keimer came in at tied 73. Terrell Hatton, Cam Smith, T63. Taylor Gooch, the best iron player in our generation, according to Greg Norman, tied 60. Pat Reed, tied 53. Lucas Herbert tied 43rd, as well as DJ Dustin Johnson tied for 43. Joaquin Neiman, also earlier in the year, really a lot of hype around him going into the Masters.
hmm.
Another disappointing major showing, particularly how he was playing on the live circuit.
Right,
It,
right.
tied 39, T39. Brooks Koepka, defending PGA Championship champion, tied 26th. Dean Burmester, T12. And then, of course, Bryson DeChambeau really did light it up today. I know when I was editing up the Xander video this morning, I know you had kind of said, nah, no worries about DeChambeau. So I'll give him credit where credit's due, right? So if the man comes out and performs as he did, shoots a low score, had to go get it, really put the pressure on to Xander Schauffele, and kind of
Yeah,
separated themselves from the field. Hovland was also raking today as well. That's unfortunate that he did not, kind of stumble down the road, but we'll get into him as well a little bit later. So again, the live boys. I'll put a graphic over this when I edit it up because we're gonna keep doing this as they complain, whine. They're given opportunities. We'll go back to the asterisk comments from earlier
yeah.
in the year that if Taylor Gooch wasn't playing or these live guys weren't playing, that could the tournament be considered legitimate. So, what do you think about these results for the live folks?
Pretty on par. I mean, you're going from muni courses to actual private, private clubs and private conditions and stuff like that. So big jump for the guys, playing on such a, esteemed course and everything like that. So that goes with the territory. I think as they start to play better courses, maybe, not munis, I think they'll be okay. Maybe they'll be able to
Yeah.
play into these conditions and stuff like that. Um, yeah, give it to DeChambeau. He actually came out and showed up for the guys. So I mean, he one thing about DeChambeau is he can come out and shoot a low number. It's just a matter of what else is he gonna do. I mean, he did this in the Masters. He shot 65 to start, had a not a sizable lead, but I think the next closest person shot 67. He had a two-shot lead off the jump. And then from there, it was just pretty much curtains. So, good thing he surged at the right time and not at the beginning. So good on him for that. Burmester, he showed he had a better showing than a lot of these premier guys as well. So, um, you know,
I'll
same thing you're
shout out to
saying.
him.
Respect to those guys. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, he's
because
been putting up a
Burmester has
show.
been playing. Yeah, he's been playing some
Absolutely.
golf. He's been getting. He
Yeah,
got a bunch of starts on the DP World Tour,
took
and then
advantage.
actually carried it over. Getting the
Definitely.
conditioning in, playing 4 days. I think it matters. I mean, at the end, you can't tell me that conditioning yourself for 3 rounds does not matter.
Agreed.
So, salute to him for getting starts and getting ready to play. Really, and I actually enjoy watching this game. He's pretty powerful. Has kind of some he's got another level that he can hit. I think he's a really good golfer. And shout out to DeChambeau for having 4 consistent days, getting better, just throughout the round 68, 65, 67, and a 64 today in
Yeah.
his attempt to go get that PGA Championship. Clean card, which, it was interesting watching the course. Really did allow for some low scoring, given that it was a major. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they could have made the fairways a little bit tighter. The rough, I mean, was roughing. It's at Kentucky bluegrass, so it did
Mm-hmm.
its thing, but it wasn't really claustrophobic in the fairways. There was an incredible amount of fairways hit. What do you think about the course setup?
I mean, for the weather and stuff they had gotten earlier in the week. I mean, I think they did what they could. I felt like the setup was great. I mean, again, as we discussed off stream, sometimes you just gotta tip your cap to really good golf. These guys come out and they play, and it's a different game. They're playing golf every day of the week. They're practicing golf. They're training for golf. All they do is watch golf, and then they have mental coaches. So, whether the conditions are getting more and more difficult, or if they were a little bit wider this week for the PGA, who's to tell when the golf is playing at this level? Again, this is the fifth time in, major history now for the guys where the winner was above, 20 under. So,
Mm-hmm.
when the golf is being played like that, sometimes you just got to tip your hat to the golfers, regardless of the conditions. And I felt like that, just like you said, the rough was rough. It's not like it wasn't. It's not like you weren't having to lay up or really guard what you were going to do out of the rough. So, I mean, I think it did what it was supposed to do. I mean, you can't always
Yeah.
play on 15-yard wide fairways. The course won't be able to hold that. So, yeah, I
Right.
think they did what they were supposed to do on that. I mean, and a lot of
Yeah.
players were you had layup holes, and then you had holes where you needed to hit your driver. They had a lot of 490s, 470s where you couldn't just hit 3 wood out there. You had to pipe it,
Yeah.
and you had to
Three of
be
the
accurate
par
with it.
threes
So
were Yeah, three of the par
over
threes were over
200,
200
yeah,
yards. Yeah, yeah, simple. Like you said, every PGA Championship or major can't be just brutal butt whooping where they're slogging for par. I don't think most people would like that anyway, right? So I think we got an exciting back nine, despite it. There being. I liked having the scoring available. Like you said, they were hitting
definitely,
shots. Um, DeChambeau does really separate himself in terms of the length, right? At one point, I think there was one hole coming down the home stretch where he was 60 yards. I think it was 58 to be exact, in front of Hovland, which is just nuts because Hovland isn't exactly short off the tee
right.
box, but for there to be a 60-yard gap between the two gentlemen, pretty crazy. And I think also when we were kind of talking about the low scoring and kind of record 62 rounds, which Xander Schauffele had in round one of this PGA Championship, is the ability to use rangefinders. I think that also helps with the pace of play as well.
Yep.
And keeping things moving. And yeah, we talked about this last year. The use of rangefinders, I think, honestly, I love it. I know it separates, having a good caddy and maybe let's say you have a not so great caddy that miscalculates, takes the wrong club. But I do think for
Yeah.
pace of play and us being able to get the round over, because I mean theoretically they started pretty late on the East Coast, and had this been the U.S. Open, we might still be waiting for them to finish, or finishing, you know just in the almost sundown. So I like
Hmm.
that aspect of this particular tournament. I think it also plays into the lower scores, because you can just get a more accurate yardage without having to do a bunch of calculations and mental math and all that jazz. So yeah, I think it was all altogether
Definitely.
a really good week. Really enjoyable to watch. Course presents well every time they play there. Um, so yeah, shit. Scottie Scheffler. Let's talk about that bizarro scene on Friday morning. We were going back and forth about it. I woke up thinking it was had to be some kind of joke or crazy. And it just did not make sense. You're thinking Scottie Scheffler,
Right.
this,
Of all
this,
people.
salt of the earth, just pure guy, and getting arrested, and then is at least got clarification quickly that it was on tournament grounds and it wasn't some overnight shenanigans that happened.
Right.
I hate the gratuitous part about having to say this, but unfortunately someone lost their life. A vendor or someone that was working the tournament, which caused the backup and just the confusion that led into this. So that's always unfortunate, but clearly people were on edge trying to get the situation handled. What are your thoughts around what happened? What were you thinking when you first saw the ESPN alert or the first Instagram post around Scotty getting arrested?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was already up. I mean, we had an event going on that morning, Friday morning, so we were pretty much watching it on TV as it happened, unfortunately. Um, so we got the notification that breaking news, Scottie Scheffler was getting arrested. So we put the TV on. And of course, next thing you know, like all of the breaking news was coming out and all the reports. It was a whirlwind moment, for sure for Scotty, but for everybody that was watching and already up, because it was kind of like I mean, it was the rain was gonna be in the way, so you were worried about that. Is it gonna delay rounds and what was happening? And so like I think Scotty pretty much was thinking like, well, I still need to get in here to get to my tea time, not knowing that everything was going to get pushed back anyways. So I feel like
Yeah.
he really was just trying to, do his thing and get into the course. And whether there was a miscommunication or not, to my naked eye,
This
I really think it was just a dude with dad brain, just really thinking he
you
was above the
you
situation.
you and this dad braid thing. I need you. You're gonna have to do you and dad braid. I don't even think it was that. I'm gonna keep it 100%. This is Louisville PD. They have a reputation. They're not great. Um, insert Breonna Taylor. They're not great. So
Yeah,
the fact
insert
is,
Mike Brown.
yeah, all kinds of different things that have happened in that community that are not great as it relates to policing. Apparently, there's no body cam footage. All we get is the Jeff Darlington of ESPN's cell phone footage, and some spotty stuff here and there. But the interaction prior
Thank
to
God he
that,
was on the scene.
right? How do we not have body cam footage available? Which it sounds like it's going to lead to these charges getting dropped. So apparently he's going to be arraigned on either Monday or Tuesday. But again, these charges likely are going to get dropped due to a lack of evidence and being able to corroborate the two different stories from Scotty's impression from one officer versus the officer that apparently jumped on the car. So interesting scene in Louisville. You could tell Scotty was running on adrenaline on Friday. Was
Yeah,
able to pull out a 66 as a result of that. But also, it seems like that he had a bit of a crash on Saturday as well. You can imagine, of course, the additional questions. I mean, yes, he's a new dad. I think I think it's what's his wife's name? Meredith is at home,
Meredith.
but um, so it's not like they're on site at the championship. But with all that stuff going on, having to fly his attorney into town, and all the stuff that's surrounding this, that's exhausting. You're not able to just kind of go out there, do your job, play golf. So here we are. Crazy scene. We'll see how it plays out. Again, I fully anticipate uh, this kind of being an afterthought and just really a story that we talk about. But I don't know. Tell me, what do you think? If you could place a bet on it, do you think he would, if this never happened, if and buts, right? It's difficult to say that. Do you think he actually had a chance to compete? I actually do. Um,
Yeah, I
Given
do.
that he shot a 66, um, yeah, I think it's unfortunate. So you think he also had a
Yeah,
chance?
I think it took away from the golf slightly, but I also think that Ted Scott having to go to his family's graduation. I believe it's his daughter. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to misquote, but
Yeah.
he had family. He had family priorities, and as it already came out, Scotty and Ted agreed family was always going to come first, and that's very
Yeah.
commendable amongst their relationship, amongst their friendship, and amongst their contract as player caddy. So, kudos to Scotty. He was going to make things shake regardless. And, he had the tour chaplain on the bag, who happens to be one of
Right.
his good friends, anyways. So, amen on that. Just it being able to be seamless like that.
And the fact
But
again that they're able to use rangefinders helps out with this
exactly.
situation.
The only thing that I will say is, with the chaplain being on the bag and not Teddy, his regular guy, I don't think he was able to fight through a little bit of that mental fatigue and a few more of
Mm-hmm.
these reps where, he was looking a little bit more squirrely than usual. I mean, remember, he went over the fence into the hazard, had to take the drop. Just a couple of moments where you think, I don't know if Teddy necessarily, Scotty still has to hit the shots. I'm not taking away from that. But do I
Yeah.
necessarily think, you know how it goes? Do you think Teddy allows that to happen, or that many
No.
mistakes? Exactly. So I think
No.
that, combined with the Friday morning, then the exerting energy to answer all the questions for that, plus not having your regular guy out there on Saturday, really kind of slowed things down, because you see how he bounced right back on Sunday. So
Right. Dude went
I think
60. Yeah, he went 65. Sorry, 67, 66, 73. That outlier round on
first ever
Saturday,
round, yeah,
and then back to 65 today. So contention, I think, was definitely going to happen outside of that Saturday round, and that's unfortunate that
very
all
much
that
there.
had to impact the tournament. Shout out to Max Homa, never missing the beat. He came out after the tournament, said, not the week I expected. I lost to a guy that went to jail. So Max
I
Homa,
love Max.
MVP of the internet, always just a really good dude, and yeah, he's heading down here to DFW, hopefully to do better in the Colonial this coming
Absolutely.
week. As is Scotty, always gets a lot of attention on that particular tournament. People love that course and coming
No
out there to
wonder
play it.
Scotty
So
didn't play the Byron Nelson. Good. That's good. I was like, come on, Scotty, you got to play one of the D Town events, please.
yeah, but one of my guys that I play golf with, he is a marshal at the Byron Nelson, and we actually caught around today, and he was saying that, of course, the folks that work the event used to seeing Scotty, of course, and Jordan Spieth were just super disappointed that Scotty didn't make it happen to show up at the Byron Nelson, but he was also 2 weeks from his wife delivering, and you don't know when
Facts.
a kid's gonna show up
When the
and
kid is coming,
having
yeah.
yeah, and him having to pull out of the event, um, that wouldn't be great either. So I think play it safe. Right now, kid is out, and he has the kind of the freedom to resume his schedule as expected. So let's keep it rolling. A lot of Scotty talk up in there. We're kind of burying the lead. Let me not miss anything else here. Let's just talk about the cut players real fast, and then we'll get into Xander Schauffele. We already talked about John Rahm. Tiger, man. What should Tiger hang it up, man? For round one
No,
plus one, round two horrible.
no. I think he said it in his presser afterwards. The dude needs more reps, whether he hurt or not, whether he old or not. Dude need more tournament reps, and he it's a blessing and a curse because this dude was like, I need more reps, and then was like, hopefully I'll just be able to be ready for Pinehurst next week or next month. What? Get in a tournament. Ask for a
I
sponsor
know.
exemption to something. Even if you
I
miss the
know.
cut, you said it. You said it
Just
yourself.
reps.
Go out there and play in a tournament and get the tournament juices back flowing. You playing 2 days and missing the cut ain't gonna hurt your foot or your ankle or whatever. I mean, and then like we was
And
talking
he
about,
his
Pinehurst
gait actually
isn't
doesn't look
necessarily
that bad.
right. He's the adrenaline of it all will help, and then as your body naturally adjusts to these natural aches and stuff like this now, I think I think he'll have to just get used to it and go out there and stomach it for a little bit. They injected him with some adrenaline anyways or whatever to make sure he can play. So whatever,
Okay,
Tiger.
Mark. Okay, with the hot
It's
accusation.
they,
So
them boys getting shot up.
coming up schedule. Of course, we talked about the Colonial next week, the RBC Canadian Open the week following that, Memorial, and then followed by the U.S. Open. So had there been maybe a week in between the
He's got
Memorial,
two events.
yeah,
He
but I
won the
think you
RBC
can't.
Canadian too. He can maybe go over there.
Maybe right. And they move their courses around, so I don't really know this course all too well. Hamilton Golf and Country Club. Who knows what it'll look like, or if it's, up and down terrain.
I mean, Mike
But
Weir probably
we'll
the only
see.
person that really knows.
Shut up! Don't you talk down to Mike Weir, man. He's our guy. Other notables that missed
I
the cut: Matt Fitzpatrick. um, these are even. Ludwig Aber, even. That sucks that even was the cut. Again, scores were higher this week. Akshay Bhatia, +1. Sung J M. He's not had the greatest season this year. I think he was able to have a pretty decent week at the RBC in South Carolina. But other than that, Sung J
Heritage.
M's been a no show. Yeah, the RBC to
Hmm.
Heritage. Sam Burns missed the cut at +3. Adam Scott. Wyndham Clark was struggling with the rough. Saw him chunk a couple of chips, trying to get cute. I don't know. He's. I've seen a lot of people disliking Wyndham Clark and not feeling him. He ended up shooting +4. Phil +4 as we talked about earlier. Chris Kirk +5. We talked about Tiger. Michael Block. I think the Michael Block story. I'm good with it finally dying. The man's getting his endorsement money, getting that Corbridge endorsement commercial, and all kinds of other stuff coming his way. Never hating on another man's dollar, but I am tired of hearing about Michael Block. He has not been able to perform. He caught magic in a bottle last year, and then turned around and went to the Colonial the next week. Had a horrible week. Has not been able to kind of recapture that. So I'm kind of glad that that story is essentially over in terms of him playing. So yeah, those are the notable cuts. Let's get into, unless you got any other comments, let's get into the Xander Schauffele stuff. No, sorry. One more. One more. I don't want to bury all of our leads. Vic Hovland. I think we can touch on his real quick. So um
Yeah.
got an alert earlier today about Vic. We know he struggled this year after winning the tour championship last year. Split with his coach. It's interesting when players do the change ups with the coaches. Usually it's when you're struggling. But for Hovland to do it when he was at the height of his powers, somewhat concerning. But
Yep.
also, I guess after struggles this year, has regained his form, matched back up with his coach, it looks like a week ago. And here's just like a quick little interview that he did in the middle of the tourney.
You say 3 days ago that you would have a chance to win this championship on Sunday. What would you have said?
Yeah, I mean, I would have taken that immediately. I was almost considering pulling out of this event just because I wasn't playing good at all. So putting it into perspective like that, yeah, it's huge.
How close did you come to actually not playing?
I just like overall thought it just things didn't feel very good, and when they don't feel good, it's like what's the point of playing? Like I'd rather just go and work on it. But yeah, we're here now.
Was there a specific moment you made that decision? Because I'm sorry, I hadn't heard this before, so I'm just interested in when you made that decision.
Damn it, I shouldn't have said that. No, I mean, it was just like, when you're playing bad, thoughts are racing, and that's just what you're thinking. Obviously, didn't make the decision, and obviously decided to come here and play instead. So I think it's just kind of in the moment when you're playing bad.
So, lighthearted, you know, moment where, he just talks about how he's been struggling. And you can just tell the pride that he takes in his game and him not playing well. And, considering pulling out going into the week, I'm pretty sure he's probably looking for it. Said he went down some rabbit holes trying to fix things and just couldn't find the answers. I think he was actually with two coaches during this time frame. What do you think about Vic Hovland kind of regaining form and honestly just the impact that a coach can have on a player's game that quickly? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I completely understand Vic here. I feel like if I'm not playing really good, why am I even playing? I mean, even at my stature of just trash, like two handicap golf, I feel the same thing. Like it's like if I don't feel like I'm really good, well, playing really well, I don't even want to go out and play. But I mean, the interviewer to be that out of I mean, like I feel like the interviewer was really kind of playing a clueless role, and I didn't really like it with all the questions and the guiding questions. I mean, Vic did a very good
Okay.
job of navigating it because I felt like, I mean, if you've been at the top of any kind of athlete or anything like that, you kind of understand where he was going with that. Like, and that's really what I meant by that. For him to be like, "Oh, well, I didn't know this information." Yeah, well, yeah, of course you didn't. You're not a FedEx Cup champion. You're not a number, top 20 player in the world. You wouldn't have these thoughts, buddy. But no, I think it's really good on Vic for him being able to have that awareness and even
Yeah.
know to, be, I guess be humble enough to go back to where he came from. So in that aspect, really good on him. You know, he tried it. It didn't work out. Okay, let me go back to the homie. And
Yeah.
now we're back on playing and we're doing everything. And
Yeah.
he said it. This guy knows my swing really well. And I bet it was just another case of I'm not gonna try to rework your whole swing. I'm gonna make what you do better. So let's get back to
Right.
that. And he probably felt way more confident in that again. So
Rather than making
I
some
hope
swing
I,
changes.
exactly. Exactly. No need to rebuild it all just because you're not
Yeah.
winning. Let's keep going and let's get back to that peak that we were doing because he caught lightning
Yeah.
in a bottle, as you saw. I mean, so
Apparently,
yeah,
apparently the short game had abandoned him. I think he said he was like second to last in full time PGA Tour players or in strokes
saw
gained
that.
around the green. So that's a huge
Yeah,
fall off
looking
for
real
him,
bad.
especially with the strides that he had made in previous years, getting
Yep.
to where he had been. So, like you said,
Just look at the Ryder Cup.
took
Golly.
yep, tossed the pride aside, went back home, which is cool. He's got a unique swing, that follow through coming through the ball. Quite a bit of hip, you know, just dip, and it's just an interesting turn through the ball, which he's made efficient. Not, I'm sure not every coach knows how to work with that. So, glad to
Right.
see Vic back at it. Hate that he threw away two chances at majors this year. Behind that, tinkering and working with others. So hopefully we see him perform in these last two majors as well. So shout out to Vic. Love seeing him play well last year. Now we'll finally get into the Xander Schauffele thing. Um, Kind of as a precursor and mentioned earlier on in the episode, I still don't know if Xander Schauffele moves the needle. I don't know if
Yeah.
fans care one way or another, and that's not good, bad. I really do feel like it's indifferent. And honestly, and maybe I'm weird, I couldn't have told you what Xander Schauffele's voice sounded like kind of prior to him, doing his post game. I've heard him talk before, but there's nothing memorable about it. You're never going to hear a quotable. He's tightly wound up with Patrick Cantlay. They were boys growing up. Always kind of roomies and partnered up in Ryder Cup and team golf events. But yeah, I mean, impressive win that he was finally able to get over the hump and not give up the lead. I was kind of so waiting for it to happen. The implosion, he had the double bogey yesterday on 15, had a bogey on a par 5 today on number 10, which is kind of inexplicable, but was able to pull through it and prevail by one stroke. What do you think about him finally getting over the hump? What we've been saying, if you're joining us, is that it hasn't always felt like Xander's had that next gear. When we see Scottie take off and accelerate away from fields, that we just see something different. I don't know if we've seen that from Xander, and I don't know if that's what we saw today. We just saw really solid golf. But what do you think about
Yeah.
him making it over the hump?
Yeah, hopefully he continues this momentum. I mean, it's been 6 years since he won anything of note. 4 years. I'm sorry. Wait, he won the
I'll look it
Olympics.
up
What
here.
was that? 3 years, 2021, that they ended up
Yeah,
playing
after the delay.
3 years removed. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, we're 3 years removed from this next, from his last prior important move. So hopefully he can keep this going. I mean, again, still in his 20s, not even to 30. He's got so many years left of good golf that he could be playing. He needs to continue making putts, and he finally didn't have one of those rounds where he just got left behind. Because the same
Right.
thing happened last week. Wells Fargo, he has 3 rounds in the 60s. I mean, he's leaps and bounds away from everybody, and then goes and shoots over par or even par when
Yeah, he's
Rory's
in
chasing.
neutral. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be doing that. You can't have days like that. So, he did what he was supposed to do this week, and I'm glad he, finally capitalized on that. So maybe we will see Xander going forward in some bigger fields, and now that he's crossed this bridge, we'll see how his, mentality is, how his confidence goes and grows from here. So who's to say he doesn't go on a run? But only time will tell with that. And I still don't know if he moves the needle because I mean, we were talking about it at work this morning, and we were talking about all the people that we wanted that we could see winning or not winning, or who we didn't want to win. And then it was a resounding majority saying that we didn't think either Xander or Morikawa in the final group was going to do anything of note. And, we were halfway right. Morikawa just, kept it right where he stayed, right where he
Well,
started, unfortunately.
once he couldn't get going and get birdies, he had a ton of opportunities. Morikawa did, and him not being able to convert on the front nine, he was pretty much getting left in the dust. I mean, he was losing
Yeah.
strokes to the field left and right. Shot an even round today. Didn't have his first, only birdie was on 18. And if you
Mm,
didn't birdie 18, you were losing a full stroke to the field.
right.
So yeah, man, Morikawa didn't show up today, which, given that he's won two majors at this point, you thought he'd put up a little bit more of a fight. He's been there. He's actually been playing some really good golf leading into this week. So a little bit surprising that in a course that they were playing out of the fairway most of the week that he wasn't able to create more opportunities for himself. So
Yeah,
yeah, I can't say I'm not surprised that Schauffele ended up winning, but I'm also wouldn't have also been surprised had he been tracked down and caught or had to go into a playoff with DeChambeau and ended up ceding the victory to
very
him.
true.
So shout out to him for wire to wire victory. Yes, he went into today tied with Morikawa, but still considered a wire to wire victory. Started the week strong, finished the week. That's a W, man. So
Paid off at
congratulations to
62.
him. Yep, exactly. You hate to shoot a low round and not get anything out of it. You see a lot of players go low and then not be able to back it up with other low rounds. So nothing but love for him. We've been saying his talent is big. We just didn't know how to quantify that. So I think that's perfect to get into his what's in the bag. I don't even know if I put that in the show notes, but since he won, we're gonna get into it. He is a Callaway staffer. So some typical things here and some few surprises here. So let's get into this Xander Schauffele. What's in the bag? I missed the F on that freaking title. Um, Again, Callaway bag playing the Paradigm AI Smoke Triple Diamond at 10.1 degrees. Very specific. And I think he's played with 10.2 as well from some of my readings. Rocking the Mitsubishi Diamana PD7 Touareg shaft at 45.5 inches. And I think he's also tipped at an inch as well. What do you think about this driver? I think you've touched on this driver before that. Callaway, just not for you. Good equipment, but not for you.
Yeah, I think it's very electric. The face has always been one of the hotter ones on tour for maybe about a decade or so now. Ever since they really started the jailbreak technology, they've really
Mm-hmm.
been on the forefront for ball speed and contact and stuff like that. AI Smoke is really just been has really created forgiveness for them. But even then, still not the most forgiving. We all know where that is.
No.
That's the Ping. Ping
Yeah.
G430 is definitely the most forgiving driver than the QI10. And then I would say the AI Smoke is in that, that secondary realm for forgiveness and stuff like that. But you cannot deny the ball speed. You cannot deny the yardage gained, but it's just about being able to control it. So
Yeah.
kudos to him for knowing his numbers. 45.5 on a driver. That's for him. I mean, for even that to be noted is a little bit wild because I feel like everybody's at about 45 or so. So,
Yeah.
whatever it takes to get him there. Diamana's an old name. Diamana used to have a really big chokehold on the game, and everybody started trying to desert it. But I guess, Xander found a home with the Diamana. So
I
good on
I
him.
was I was I was reading up on that because I thought the same thing that this Diamana's been around and it even the design on it looks like an older shaft, but
Mm-hmm.
the PD apparently is kind of a update to their old whiteboard shaft. So this is kind of
Yep.
bringing the design forward. They're in Gen 5 right at this point, so keep trying to keep it current. And he seems to love something about the profile. We'll see that as we continue to go through the bag. That the Diamana is one that he definitely enjoys in his wood. So let's keep it rolling. Of course, continuing down the theme, the Callaway Paradigm AI Smoke Triple Diamond 3 wood, 14.4 degrees. And there were some other kind of clubs that it looks like he shuffles in and out depending on the conditions. I think he's also got a 16.5 degree kind of 5 wood that he toggles
Mm-hmm.
in and out, I guess just depending on the conditions as well. So pretty standard here. A little bit lower. And then this Callaway Apex, which we've been seeing a couple times this year as well. So 21 on the head, but playing at 19.7 again, super specific in terms of that.
Very dialed.
That I know, right? Again, continuing with the Diamana, D plus 90 Tour X Flex, excuse me. And then just also the same thing, Mitsubishi Diamante PD Tour X in this 3-wood. Any comments on the woods before we get into the irons?
To me, that apex head looks a little bit bigger than normal, but I guess if that's like an older generation, that would make sense. I guess it's, I mean, UW utility wood, so I guess it would have a bigger head, but anything
Yeah.
playing at like 19 degrees and above, I would kind of quantify that as a hybrid. So really
Yeah, and
weird.
it's got a hybrid shape. Yeah, and again, he's got a few things that he plays with. There's also on shout out to Golf WRX. He plays with the 13.5. Again, just depending on the conditions and what he's looking
Two
for.
wood.
The setup, the setup is exactly the same. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
they have their mini driver. It looks like that he's been playing with as well. So maybe he throws it in the bag here and there. Maybe he hasn't officially thrown it in there and waiting for the right time. Who knows? But he's got a lot of optionality in his bag. But again, the shaft choices, it's a Diamante all the way through his woods, no matter what. In the irons here, it was interesting because the first what's in the bag that I ran across for him was kind of on a Callaway page, and they did not mention this Mizuno MP20. Of course, it was straight Callaway only. So there were a few holes when they mentioned the bag, and you'll see that also in his wedges as well. But the MP20, which is one of the sexier 3-irons that I think I've seen.
Yep.
Got the heavy weighting on the perimeter and bottom of the club. Looks like it's really thin on the top line there. So sexy. In Mizuno, make some sexy irons, man. I know you know that. And the True Temper Dynamic
Cannot beat
Gold
it.
Tour issue. And the X100. So I found this one interesting. Him being on the lighter side of their iron shaft for True Temper. What are your thoughts on that? And this carries through. He's, X100 also in his 4 through 10, or they call it 10, but a pitching wedge.
I think it's just a moniker of him trying to get club head speed and be able to swing it harder because he's not a bigger guy. So him being able to do that, I think that'll help him out. So I think that's why the guys that swing heavier don't necessarily have to feel like they're swinging hard. But when you're
Yeah.
going lighter, it's because you want to still be able to feel the head and still be able to swing as hard as you'd like. So I think that's the easiest way for him to control it. So good on him. I mean, again, the dude knows his numbers. He is very specced out.
Yeah.
So I think he knows that he needs a lighter shaft. He's probably played around with that multiple times, him and Dad. So yeah, I think that's good for him.
Crazy. So he's also playing these Callaway Apex TCB. This is a raw finish, as you can tell by the rust. This is not a publicly available club. It was interesting because on the Callaway forum there was one comment, and it was somebody complaining about this not being available, right? And several Callaway staffers playing it, but the general public has no access to it. So I found that interesting comment, someone complaining about that. So interesting iron. I mean, Callaway's iron lineup pretty much looks similar throughout the bag. I mean, the AI Smoke ones, the one with a lot of help, are a little bit different, but all their players' irons have similar characteristics to them, especially on the backside of the club. In the wedges here, so he's rocking the Callaway Jaws Raw, the 52 degree, 10 on the bounce. Then rocking the Titleist, which is, in his 56 and 60, both bent at 57 and 61. Rocking the SM10s, got it in the bag. So an interesting setup, rocking the same shaft as well that he's doing in his irons, the X100 from True Temper. What was that head shake? What do you think about his wedge setup here?
57 degree and 61. Just some wild numbers. But I mean, if you're not hitting your 60-degree full, it being lofted to 61 won't really matter. And if you're hitting your
Yeah.
57 and you're trying to hit it out of a certain window, that would matter. I mean, 10
Yeah.
degrees of
But
bounce,
maybe I'm
that's a
off,
lot.
but this seems like there might be some gapping, not issues, but maybe he does a lot with that 52. But usually you don't see that big of a. I mean, you see 4 degrees standard as a gap. There's an additional one
Right.
there. I don't know, a little bit different.
5 isn't bad. I mean, you've seen it before. The pros, they'll go 50, 56, 60 like it's nothing. I mean, however it may play to them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I just think having a 56, which is already pretty high lofted, and a 61, it's that's that's wild to me. I don't feel like I feel like I don't like because it's like you're using your 56 and then with 10 degrees of bounce, like, are you using this for full shots or are you using this like around the greens? And I feel like that's all the height I would need. But to play a
Yeah.
61 too as well?
You want you want to really nerd out and how you know he's really in tune with his specs. So his pitching wedge, or as they call it, 10, is at 47.8 degrees. So there's like a 4.2
No.
degree difference. It's so interesting. Even though again he's
47.
Callaway,
God.
yeah, 47.8. So that's one of the higher lofted pitching wedges that you're going to see in the game these days. So interesting though. But I love that they were getting kind of these decimal points on some of his lofts. It's very interesting. We usually don't
Very
get data
true.
like that. But for somebody who's a staffer, you can tell he's been kind of very much narrowing down and tinkering and getting everything down to the exact numbers that he wants, clearly down to 47.8. So very interesting. Um, this putter, we've seen him rocking this putter for a long time. You mentioned this on our, what's in the bag from last week. This particular neck, the kind of same neck that we saw on the TaylorMade Spider last week. So this one's, as we go through more of these, it's fun to see the common characteristics that pros, utilize versus, let's say, us AMs. This is a prototype of
Hmm.
that particular putter, and that Toulon line from Odyssey is highly customizable. Even as an amateur, you can go on and really spec up and customize your putter to your liking. So if you are in tune with how you like to putt and different, intricacies with your putting and putting style, you can do it through Odyssey. And clearly he's done that, but he's been rocking this one for a while. I would be
Triple
interested to know
track,
what that.
essentially.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. The lines on that one. I am interested to. I would love to have more info on if this little plate on the bottom of the putter, is weighted,
Is
or
weighted.
those two inserts in the front of the putter. Clearly, they have the screws that can be removed. So, I'm sure, with given that previous information we have, that it's down to like the ounce or some crazy number. So yeah, and then of course he's rocking the Chrome Callaway Chrome Tour, which I think this ball has continued to get better and better year over year. A lot less spinny than the original versions of this ball.
Right.
The
So
the Chrome
spinny.
lineup. The Chrome lineup initially, when it first dropped, was so spinny, and it didn't matter which version of the ball you were getting. But they have really dialed it in, and when I run across a couple of them, it's been an enjoyable ball to play. It's pretty soft off the face, at least for feel, but you can definitely tell that it's not spinning up as much. I would have so many irons blow up on me. So,
Yep.
yeah, and I'm sure he's rocking some custom version of that. So that is the Xander Schauffele. What's in the bag? Any other comments before we close it out on this one?
No, I mean, I was just getting ready to reiterate the same sentiments about the Callaway Chrome Tour. It's leaps and bounds what it used to be. I mean, it used to be. It was always a great ball around the green, and surprisingly enough, it reminded me a lot of the Bridgestone because off the
Mm,
tee, I wasn't losing yardage. It hardly ever ballooned. It hardly ever spun too much. It was with the irons and the face interaction off the irons and wedges that really made it just spin and balloon up. But around the greens, it was great. The feel has always
yeah,
been immaculate. Um, so yeah, I mean, I really want to try it back out. And because to me, it's if the cover is good as it is now, with the same
yeah,
amount of fill with less spin, I mean, it's gonna rival the Bridgestone Tour BXS for me. So I think I want to, put that bag in the bag and try it out again. So that might be something I'll look into. Stay tuned.
yeah, for sure. Shout out to Callaway for making quality products. And as we criticized the TP5 lineup last week for having a crappy cover and just,
Mm-mm-mm.
scuffing after wedges and irons, the Callaway balls are really durable as well.
Mm-hmm.
Between Titleist and Callaway, I think they're probably the best two in the game in terms of durability, and keeping the ball unscuffed throughout the round just from club face contact, wedges and irons included. So
Definitely.
cool beans, man. That's we've covered a lot of golf. I mean, heavy on the PGA Championship stuff. NBA playoffs, man. NBA playoffs. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. Your boy, our mom, you know, is a season ticket holder of the Mavs. She was out of town, gifted your boy a ticket, ran into one of my golf buddies randomly in the security line, and got the suite upgrade. So the place was loud and raucous. The Mavericks took out the LKC Thunder, which I was not expecting. And hell, I mean, it's not like they didn't put up a fight. Very very close. And I texted one of my some guy that I work with, and I said, y'all have the future, but we have right now. So shout out to the
Yes,
Mavs
sir.
moving to the Western Conference Finals. Um, who do we know? Do we know we're playing yet, or is that tomorrow that we find out?
No, Denver and Minnesota's playing right now. They are in
Oh
Game 7 right
shucks,
now, and
shut the
the
front door.
series will start on Wednesday.
All right, so we're going to have to wrap this bad boy up. Surprisingly, not surprisingly, the Knicks went down today to the Indiana Pacers, bro. What do you
A
think about that
lot
one?
of injuries. A lot of injuries. OG
Yeah.
Anunoby hasn't played since Game 2, strained hammy. Josh Hart fighting through an abdominal injury. Then, of course, Jalen Brunson didn't even play like more than the majority of the second half because his hand finally gave out on him. It had already been
Mm,
his right hand had already been bandaged up, and I think the left hand he fractured it or something like that. Might have been on one of these tough falls when he was just trying to exaggerate a call a little bit. I
yeah.
hate to say it, but my boy is a foul merchant
He's
as
a
well.
flopper.
He is. I think all of the league guys now are like that. And I felt like Luca as well can be included. I'm not I'm not biased to that stuff. I can call it what it is. And Luca just being the ref's ear just as much as Shea, just as much as PG, just as much as Harden, all of them guys. All of them.
Yeah.
So when
I do
I
like
don't like
when
when they try to group it.
I like when Luca shows the discipline and just kind of gets up and runs to the other side of the court and gets back on defense rather than complaining and whining. I think he's getting better
Hence why
with
game
that.
five was so amazing. Hence why game five was a Luca masterclass. Buddy just shut up, smiled, and played the game and won.
Yeah.
And where were they at? In OKC, where he knew he had to show up anyways.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think he needs to do a lot more of that. whether we play Denver or Minnesota. More so if we play Minnesota, because Jaden McDaniels and that other kid that they got from New Orleans are gonna be on him like white on rice. They gonna have be hand checking. I mean, it's
Who
gonna
do
be
you want?
playoff basketball.
You want the
At
Nuggets
this
or
point,
Timberwolves?
I want the Nuggets. I know they got the experience, but we at least have two bodies to throw at Joker. We got a guy that can match up with Michael
Oh,
Porter
well, I don't
Jr.
know. Did Gafford went down late yesterday too, so I don't know what
He's
his
fine.
injury status. Okay, no, nothing long term.
He'll be fine. Yeah, his capacity in that series just needs him to be a rim runner and a fouler, anyways. Derek Lively has the best plus minus in the playoffs right now for a reason. Let Dan do the dirty work, and then Lively comes in with the energy. So you see how it was. He Gafford played 19 minutes and Lively played 30 minutes off the bench.
Yeah,
So, we see what's going to happen. But them being interchangeable and being able to do essentially the same thing, with the same about free throw percentage,
yeah.
relatively
They're both
60% or whatever.
rim
Yeah.
runners. Catch the oop. I think
Yeah.
Gafford gets a handful more putbacks on the offensive boards, but it's
Right.
negligible.
So I
So
think,
yeah,
yeah. So I think the matchup pretty much is a little better against Denver, especially with like I was saying, we could throw PJ at MP at Michael Porter Jr. or at Aaron Gordon. Derrick Jones Jr. He's gonna show length and he can guard 1 through 4. So we can flip him out and have him on Jamal Murray, PJ on Jamal Murray, Dante Exum on Jamal Murray. We have a lot of bodies we can throw at their best offensive players. Is really the only thing that I'm looking at. And then if we can hide Luka and Kyrie so we can give them some breaks, because as we saw in both these two series, Luka and Kyrie can man up and cough a little bit and show that they can, make a stop when needed. They're gonna,
yeah.
they're not always gonna be there 100% because that's not their job. Their job is to lead on offense, make sure we can get buckets, carry the offense, but timely stops.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I don't want
Okay.
to
Charles Barkley, you getting real.
shut
You
up.
getting real TNT.
I don't want to. I
Keep it
don't want
light.
to jinx
Keep it
it,
light, brother.
but I'm cool. I'm almost done. I don't want to jinx it, but it reminds me of Carlisle's group where we had perfect role players. I'm not saying championship run, but I'm saying everybody's role is
No.
defined, and yeah, I mean we're just making stops when we need it because we just went up against two prolific offenses. But anyways, that's neither here
Yeah.
nor there. We need to get through Denver or Minnesota as it proceeds.
Whoever it is, I prefer Minnesota just because they're inconsistent. I think Denver provides a lot more consistency, and Minnesota
True.
can have a couple of bad games in a series where they don't show up. So I would pick Minnesota, but right now they're down double digits, and we will see. Anyhow, Bearder Bros Golf Show. It's been a fun week. A lot of talk. Like I said, the Colonial is always a nice tournament to watch. Usually produces a pretty tight finish. We are in the full swing of the golf season. Our our member Crystal Cochran has been sending, some. She's attended the last 2 weeks of LPGA. She's been sending over
We've been getting some
some
great
stuff I haven't
content from her.
hadn't had a chance to sift through it all. I know she sent me a message last night, but it's been a hectic couple of days here, so would like to put something together with her experiences. Live sports is where it's at. I don't care what it is. It's just fun to go see athletes performing at their best in person. So we'll be back at it again next week. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
Bearder Bros Golf Show. We're out. Peace.